We can't even talk to women now.
What if I lose my job?
Feels scared, smiling at a colleague.
I will complain, but who will believe me?
What if I compliment her and she thinks it's harassment?
What if they ask me why I didn't quit?
Let's be honest, women are using it to settle scores.
Good that casual sexism is not acceptable anymore.
Hello and welcome. Thanks very much for joining us on this India Today Roundtable. The central issue we are trying to address today is what happens when this storm blows over? Will our workplaces have changed irretrievably? And more importantly, will that change be for better or for worse? Let me now introduce to you the guests on our roundtable today. We have Gitanjali Solanki. She's an HR professional and a compliance advisor for the prevention of sexual harassment at the workplace law. We have Dr. Rashmi Das, journalist and someone who has spoken about how some people who stand accused of grave charges of sexual assault, people like MJ Akbar, they do not fit into every ideology that the RSS and perhaps the BJP stand for. We also have with us Madhu Kishwar, founder of Manushi and activist. We have Talish Ray, advocate, also with us in the studio, and Vaibhav Agarwal, a supporter of the BJP. Also joining us from outside, we have Vinta Nanda, writer and producer, someone who broke the silence against Alok Nath. Along with her, we have Swati Chaturvedi, author and columnist, and Supreme Court advocate Karuna Nandi. So, ever since this entire debate has started, there is a lot of talk about how now workplaces will have to recalibrate where they stand vis-a-vis women. Interestingly, nobody talks about how men may be affected by all the revelations that are coming out against men. So let's address a few of those concerns. Let me start by asking, are men scared at the workplace now? Vaibhav Agarwal, as the only man on the panel, are you very scared today?
It's a cultural standpoint, how we look at it. If we are very clear intentionally in the way we want to respond to the women around us, be it our mother, be it our sister, be it our girlfriend, be it our friend who's a woman, it is absolutely a cultural standpoint from how I look at it. If we want to respect them, we will respect them come what may. If we don't want to respect them, even if you come down with an iron fist on them, you are an habitual offender, you are an habitual offender. You would get offended by the sheer
what is cultural about disrespecting or assaulting a woman?
Absolutely, that's how it is looked at. So, some people consider women as objects. Some people consider women, as parallels. Some people consider women, they all have a cultural standpoint according to their own mindsets.
But that's no cultural standpoint.
Well, it's a social standpoint.
Just pieties.
Society.
Come on, think and speak. What you're giving out are meaningless pieties.
No, but Madhuji, this is exactly what the problem.
I mean,
I think about the way I think about it. You got to have a different viewpoint on the subject.
It's not viewpoint.
Then why would I need to think like you want me to think?
You don't have
I want to respect women. I want to respect women. Some people have their trophy wives there. It's been running on your channel, and some people have them as next to them standing.
Okay, let's talk about the workplace, please. We're talking about the workplace. This is a very serious issue. So, and on that specific thing, I want to bring in some data. Now the thing is, and I will take it with Madhu Kishwar because you vehemently disagreed with Vaibhav Agarwal, the fact is that despite a law, reporting of sexual harassment remains abysmally low. So this whole tamasha about now men are going to be very scared of what's going to happen because we'll be hunted down by women at the workplace is basically scaremongering.
Padmaja, as with every other law in this country, on the one hand you're right, reporting of sexual harassment and rape is abysmally low, not just in India, but globally. On the other hand, in India, because it is so easy to get away with abusing, misusing laws for extortion, for blackmail, just as it has happened with rape law, it has happened with Domestic Violence Act. Supreme Court has called it legal terrorism. So we in India are constantly confronted with both these challenges, which is to prevent easy misuse of law, and therefore the need to craft our laws more intelligently and more judiciously, which we don't do. We use laws as a butcher's hatchet instead of using them with the precision of a surgeon's knife.
So you're saying that this also is open to misuse? Or misuse is
Absolutely.
happening?
You can already see the difference between really painful, genuine accounts of victims and some that are flimsy and some that lend themselves to the interpretation that this is
But how do we decide that? How do we decide whether it's flimsy?
How do I decide when I get a report as an editor, for example? Well, for 3 decades, I was an editor, and when I got reports of this or that happenings in India, how did I decide whether the person was giving me accurate information or was adding frills and was exaggerating or
No, it's
was
not
playing
just about
partisan?
media. It has to be,
is,
it has to be
it
handled
is,
in a
is.
commonality, in a social aspect. You cannot just
No,
segregate and single out a particular
Okay, let
Wait a
me
sector.
second.
answer
Since we're
her.
Just
talking
because
about the
women
law,
in this
Let
sector
me
are more
answer
bold.
her.
are
okay, since
considered
we're
to
talking
be
about
bold.
the law, only on the question of law,
You've
I
got
want
to
to
be
bring in
general
both the
about it.
lawyers.
See the difference between, I'll give you 2 examples. All the charges against MJ Akbar seem very, very genuine, very carefully written, no exaggeration, and you can see that the women concerned are very serious about it. But when I read the other side of the story of, say, the Chetan Bhagat charges or Nana Patekar charges, I felt that there were shades of grey, and I
subjective.
I disagree
And
totally.
we can't sit in
Hello,
judgment.
hello.
Okay,
I'm not saying.
Okay, first
I'm not
let's
saying.
talk about the legal aspect.
Yeah, so
Talish, on the legal aspect.
You know that rape law has been misused grossly.
Sure,
Domestic
but that doesn't
violence
mean
has
we
been.
do away with the law. So let's
I'm
just
not
talk
saying.
about.
I'm saying be craft.
Let
What
me-
I
let me-
said. Precision of a surgeon's knife. Be judicious in crafting laws and also implementing them honestly. If you have a corrupt police, for
Okay, so
example,
first let's
false
talk-
cases are easy to level.
Okay, legal
So
aspect.
when I come in here, I'm only looking at 2 aspects. One, that this is considered a crime which is subjective in nature. Therefore, it means the intention of the harasser has absolutely no impact. So therefore, if the person at the receiving end has felt harassed in all the ways that the law has set out, which is verbal, non-verbal, psychological, physical, and the various other permutation combinations that can exist, it remains harassment. The second part, which I find really funny, is this thing about these jokes that run around, now men are going to be so scared. Well, that is your privilege showing. It has always been the reality. It has been the reality with abysmal statistics that come out in front of us, and yet we have very little reporting, and that's mostly because of the
You're
fact-
saying that this law is quite foolproof. It is not prone to misuse or open to misuse.
I am saying that the law can be better, but at the same time, the fact remains that procedurally, if it is followed, it works perfectly. There are people who have come in, and I do not agree here with Madhuji in terms of the fact that when you look at somebody like a Chetan Bhagat's message, while I am no judge of it, I would still believe the victim, because it does not, it begs question as to how he felt his
Brilliant.
privilege was
Can
there.
can I
to
quickly
be able
come in?
to come
It's-
in on that.
It's a brilliant point.
And can I
That's
just
not the
finish
point.
here?
Brilliant point.
No, what's your point?
I would not have doubted one bit her charges if I had not read the messages, the very, very hot and sexy messages.
But I'm sorry, you are
no, for the
imposing
first
your own
time.
morality
no,
on how
no,
the
no,
woman
no,
is
no,
speaking.
To an unknown man, when you send a
That's
man
victim shaming.
pornographic
That is
literature,
no,
I'm
that
sorry.
is
Okay, I do not
So,
think there was.
you know,
I'll be very honest
It is like
here.
saying that prostitutes cannot be raped, and that we know is incorrect.
No,
No,
no, but
and
don't
that
go
is going-
this far that any and every prostitute who goes to the police station and says I was raped has to be and must be believed.
Why
Because
should
we
they
know.
not be? The victim
no,
has to
no,
be believed.
no,
It
you
is
have to
about
go
the
into
sex.
the
No,
specifics.
absolutely
Madhu,
not.
I
I
think
You
it's
have
not
to
about
go
legal
into
definition.
the specifics. No? Are you
It's-
saying women will always
There-
be perfectly honest?
No, I'm
and
saying
men
there is
will
truth
always
in what
be-
both of them
no,
say.
I'm saying just believe till the time, and that is there in the law as
But
well.
Karuna Nandi, is it not fair to the men in our offices then, where we make an allegation and then put the onus on them to prove that they had their intentions right, that it wasn't harassment? It was, as some men are saying, casual flirting or just exchanging ideas in the case of Chetan Bhagat.
You know, Madhu Kishwar and others, fortunately, their conceptions of what the law is are way behind the equal nature of the law as it currently exists. I'm happy and relieved to say. The second thing is that only in the case of 376 part 2, which is repeat rape, is if the fact of sexual intercourse is proven, then repeat rape and other kinds of aggravated rape, gang rape, rape from position of dominance and power, this is very important to remember, is if the fact of sexual intercourse is proven, that then the woman's testimony can be dispositive, right? This is not the case. The burden of proof does not reverse. It's very important to remember that the burden of proof in a criminal charge is very much on the prosecution in any case, including rape. In cases of rape, in cases of sexual assault, however, in cases of any situation where a person is giving testimony as a witness, as a particular kind of witness, then it is taken very seriously. And so therefore, under the law, I'm not saying in practice, I'm saying under the law. So therefore, under the law, if a woman gives testimony and that testimony is consistent, it's strong, it's withstands cross-examination, rigorous cross-examination by the other side and questions by the judge, then it can be sufficient to convict the person, to convict the accused, right? So we must be very nuanced about these things, because the false case narrative is hugely overblown. Madhuja, when you speak about intention and when we speak about the standard of evidence, I think there was another panelist who said that to some extent it's subjective, and that's correct, because if I did not consent, so if you said to me, you know, if somebody said to a woman colleague a number of times that she was looking hot, right, and that woman colleague didn't have objection to it and she consented to it, then there would be no complaint.
No, but just not having an objection does not mean she consented to it.
Subjectively was not okay with it, then that is a lack, that's an unwelcome comment. One. Two, objectively, there's also very much an objective standard.
Not necessarily.
So telling a woman colleague repeatedly that she's hot is harassment.
No, but
right?
because we're taking examples here,
so
since the issue of Chetan Bhagat was brought up, a lot of people are saying we are conflating what Chetan Bhagat did with what MJ Akbar did. In the case of MJ Akbar, there was assault. Chetan Bhagat was just engaging in harmless flirting,
that's not what
and
I
we can't
said.
put them on the same level.
Number one, to say that it's not being misused, let's face it, a large percentage, and I can give you the breakdown of rape cases
Nobody
are about.
saying it's not being used, Mr. Kishore.
Please.
One is saying
Are about live-in relationships having turned
and also,
sour.
I mean,
Please
before
let me
you address, I
finish.
would also like you to address your petition in the High Court,
Will
which
you
seeks to
please-
limit rape laws.
will you-
the rape
will
laws
you
that
let
were
me
so
finish?
hard fought
Will
in
you let me
2013,
finish, ma'am?
and your petition seeks to
Let
limit
me
them.
finish.
So please address that too.
I'm talking to Padmaja, please.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, I'm
Please go on.
saying a large number of reported and booked cases on rape charges are about live-in relationships having turned sour.
Ma'am, sure,
now, one second,
there is
let me
misuse,
finish.
but it's a
let
small
me finish 3
fraction.
points.
Okay.
No. If it were a small fraction, there would not be the kind of outrage, public outrage that there is. It's a very large. I have actually collected.
Ma'am,
One
the public
second.
outrage is because
Let
of the
me
patriarchy.
finish.
No.
Please let me
The Supreme Court
finish.
reported numbers.
You
70
don't like
cases
it.
out of
And
100.
I'm sorry, but I have to come in here with data.
You're not letting me finish.
Ma'am, okay, because no.
One
Since
second.
we cannot use outrage as a measure of
But
how
you
much a
can't
law is
interrupt
misused.
me. Okay, forget the outrage.
I'm just giving
Hang
you
the
data.
outrage.
I'll give you data. In terms of sheer percentage, the cases which have been disproven under UAPA far outweigh the number of cases that have been proven.
Even Delhi
as,
Commission
or
That's another,
women
that's
data.
another animal.
That
You
doesn't
can't
mean that we
compare
do
the
away
two
with the
animals.
law.
Delhi Commission of Women, and it is not a BJP or RSS outfit, Delhi Commission of Women under Maliwal, who's a very proactive women's rights activist, more than 50% of cases turned out to be false. Secondly, elopements.
Numbers reported
Please
65%
take me
and
not.
above.
Elopements turned into voluntary elopements. One second.
Yeah.
And in the case of Chetan Bhagat, I don't know the man, but what I say is, when I read her complaint along with the narrative he quoted from her first emails to him, to a strange man you are sending pornographic writing. It was very, very offensive. And if the man had done that,
writer should
no, but the man,
she has a point. I disagree. She has a point. She has a point.
No, this is privilege.
She has a point.
If the man had done that,
She has a point.
I am sorry.
Why do you have to call a woman hot? Why can't you just simply say you're looking nice?
If a man had done this to a strange woman,
It's a work.
hello. If a man had sent uninvited his erotica,
But it wasn't uninvited.
It was
an ongoing conversation.
No. First time is totally uninvited. That's what his take. I'm saying I'm no judge. Let NCW take up these cases, sift the falls.
NCW doesn't have the power to take up these cases.
Okay, let me get in the others as well. As an HR professional, how do you decide then? It's also subjective. People come up with so-called frivolous complaints. How are you supposed to sift through them?
Absolutely. So that's why the formation of the ICC and the implementation of the law is as important as the law itself. Because when a complaint does come up, it is important for the presiding officer and the ICC to sit on it to understand, is it sexual harassment? Is it gender discrimination? Is it workplace harassment? And only if they decide that it is actually sexual harassment, just bases the complaint, that's when they start investigation. And it's like any other investigation. When you investigate, you ask for witnesses, you take the side of the you take the story of the aggrieved woman, you take the story of the respondent, and you, like I said, you ask for witnesses, you ask who, why, when, how, when it happened.
No, that said, okay, Gitanjali Solanki, I am a man, you're a woman.
Okay.
I grab your arm and I say, hey, listen, look at this document.
Yeah.
How am I as a man to know that tomorrow you will not think it was a violation of your privacy and make a complaint?
So you're not to know, because the
Maybe I
fact
just
is
want to
that
draw your attention. I'm just saying.
yeah. So let me just give you an example of something which I saw on your show today of Subhash Ghai saying that I have never raped a woman, but my love, affection and respect can be misconstrued. I'm saying love and affection can be misconstrued, but respect cannot be. So if I may just say well done, if I may just say well done, or I say well done, or I just say well done. If I say well done, it's just well done. But the other two, did I try something or did I actually just say well done?
It's grey, right?
No, it's not. Can I come in on this? I
So when you
do
look
this
at
for a
section
living.
19 of the
Yeah,
Act,
so
it
I do this for a
specifically
living.
provides,
So
as I said,
it provides specifically for repeated trainings and building up awareness about this. So the Act in itself has taken care of that. Now when the training is there, and it's very specific in that sense, for example, even compliments, I could turn around and say,
you're looking nice.
You're looking nice.
Yeah, like she did say.
No, or the second way, I could turn around and say, you look nice today, or I could say your jacket looks nice today. And there's a difference. The moment I focus on your jacket and I take it away from you, I have paid a culturally appropriate compliment in that sense, which would be acceptable at most places. There might, of course, be certain situations
But isn't
when
this
it's not
micromanaging? Will I have to keep watching my words all the time?
Yes. Do we not watch our words? As a lawyer, as a journalist, are you not watching your words? It's not micromanagement.
As an individual, are you not
It's
watching
about
your
getting
words?
people used to.
When
Let me
you
take it back.
travel
Let me take it back.
And
A couple of decades back, when we saw people, young kids, little people serving out at dhabas, at places where they were employed, there was that entire debate that happened that, you don't allow them to work, what are you going to do? Well, this is the way the law actually helps you evolve when you watch your words. Absolutely.
All right. So, Vinta Nanda, your workplace, you're hoping A, will have institutional mechanisms, and B, everywhere men will be more careful of how they behave and how they talk. Especially since we come from industries where interaction is quite casual between men and
talking
women.
about the work.
Yes.
So basically, before I get into the what's happened at the workplace in the last 1 week in the film and television industry, I would like to say that what is also happening simultaneously is it's slowly becoming a society versus patriarchy battle, and it is no longer men versus women battle. So I think we do need to evolve along with what's going on, and we need to understand that we are actually attacking patriarchy, and it could go either ways. A man can be patriarchal as much as a woman can be patriarchal, and we need to actually there's a whole behavioral change aspect to this entire discourse that is taking place at the moment. Secondly, I mean, for us, especially in the film and television industry, what really triggered me and allowed me and pushed me really to come out was the support that I saw from within the industry come for Tanushri. The fact that, you know, the Sinta had stood up, and I've been in this industry since 1985, and I've held a pretty good, I have a pretty good track record. I'm a known person, and I've been in the ECs of the Producers Guild of India, I've been in the EC of the Indian Film and Television Directors Association, all those things. But not once in all these years since 1985 to 2018 have I seen any association come forth and stand by a woman in this industry. But after Tanushri coming out and then me coming out, and after me so many more people coming out, what has happened is in the last week itself, the Producers Guild of India has set up a committee and they have created a system for redressal. The Indian Film and Television Directors Association has set up a redressal system and put up a committee. The same thing has happened with the Screenwriters Association, and fortunately Sinta had already taken that step forward before Tanushri came out, which is why they could come out and stand for her, and which motivated me and has motivated so many more people to come out. So I think within the workplace, this primary objective should be to set up systems and create those constructs which allow and enable boys, girls, men and women to come up and talk and be able to express themselves. Many a times you may just have felt that someone has wronged you, but even then you should have that platform on which you can go and say it, because we are living in times which confuse us and which completely give us a sense of you know, not knowing whether we are right or we are wrong. So we need to have that sensitivity within every working space across the board.
To come out with the really graphic details of what happened to them down the years, for a recognition of a mechanism, the need of a mechanism to even come about. Of course, there has been response from the film industry. We've seen some from the media as well. But the one place where there's not even an acknowledgement of all of that has been happening is politics. Why isn't Me Too affecting politics at all? Thanks very much, Kanika, for joining me. First of all, I want to start by asking you, do you think that after all that we have seen and heard in the last few days, that the media is going to change for the better?
You know, I think that, like someone on your show was saying, I think that was a good point, is that the legalities are in place. Or as much in place, or the intent of the legalities, they can be fine-tuned certainly, you know, but they're going the right way. However, the people have not adjusted to these, so they're getting scared of the legalities, I think, because they're not understanding the principle behind the realities, you know, and the laws and the laws that are being placed. They're not understanding why those mean. So they're like, oh, you cannot stare at a woman, so I will not talk to her. Oh, so I can, if I call a woman, it is harassment, so I will not give her an assignment. Oh, you know, women, you can put me in jail, so I will not hire them. We are really seeing this scare. I think perhaps it is to be expected. Sometimes when societies are in a change, that does happen. You know, things get worse before they get better. So maybe it's just the way things happen. But now, how do we change it around? I think we have to stop thinking. You know, stop this scare about the legalities. We have this is getting defensive. Since we're talking specifically about the media, you know, when this happens, Padmaja, people will say, "Oh, we have our commission in place and we are fine." People get. I think the media needs to stop getting defensive and actually, and you know, instead of telling us that they are sort of sensitizing their people, or that they have, you know, that they're hiring women and what feminists they are, they need to actually sort of take that step from the top, Padmaja, because, and that includes, so when I say top, I say all institutions, they need to show us the way, whoever is at the top of the institutions.
Yes, Kanika, but that is easier said than done, because yes, while there has been sporadic action by a few organizations, let's take the example, for example, you know, one of the largest circulated newspaper in our country, where 7 women have on record made allegations against the resident editor, and yet the organization has put out a statement stonewalling all of that and has even said that these are malicious handles, their intent is malicious. Then you have the other case where a former editor, MJ, in fact, was never acted upon. Yes, there weren't complaints at that time, but now everyone from that time says, we knew about it, but, well, you know, we couldn't really do anything much.
So Padmaja, to quote you, you and me, we are absolutely on the same page that has to change, Padmaja, which is why, you know, this action has to come. We must hold our top people accountable. We have to hold. They are absolutely. We have to put the blame, actually, not just hold them to account. It is, you know, they've just failed. They've failed their staff. They have failed their women journalists.
And in a sense, do you think that MJ would have ever been able to do, because progressively it changed from
just continuing to fail. They are continuing to fail.
It became physical, and that was because you were emboldened, because the entire environment was so toxic and there was a conspiracy of silence.
Conspiracy of silence, and on top of that, this sort of show being put up. We are very feminist. We have committees. You know, we know what that means. I mean, firstly, you know, I'm sorry, but it's a fact. You know, we have women at the top, you know, which is like that one HR person who's like, and I don't blame them. I mean, you know, the men are running the show. If they are controlling who they will have to sit there and, you know, decide who will vet what complaint, if they are the last word on things, even if they get so-called independent and all, they are the, you know, how do you, so I'm saying the legalities don't matter. They have to understand this is a mind thing, and they have to understand, not get defensive. They have to, and if the top doesn't understand, you see, the people, the cream of society which understands these things, which is why they're silent. Let's face it, if they were really could not understand, Padmaja, they wouldn't be silent. They'd be defending all this. They're not defending. Why is this stony silence? Because somewhere they know that this is all right, but they are going along with it, Padmaja.
I'm very glad that you brought up that stony silence.
That means they are also part of it.
Yep, we've been asking this again and again. Why are some of the strongest and biggest voices of every industry silent right now? That needs to be answered. Kanika, thanks very much. Dr. Rashmi Das, what explains the silence? Is it because, as many people are saying, this is more of a social media movement and politicians and politics do not really care much about what social media says?
The silence can be explained at multiple levels, because they come from a certain universe of values, and that is what we expect to see when we say BJP and Sangh Parivar. So there was this, if a natural calamity happens, everyone knows how to handle that natural calamity, what are the forces you need to move on the ground, and how to do repair work. But you have something like this, some nonsense like this hitting you, you don't know how to react. So there's immense shock value within the Parivar. So that might be one reason why they took time. And then some lower rung spokespersons of BJP went on TV shows, and then they said a whole lot of things, questioning why it has come out so late and things like that. So that really irritated me, because they were credible, established women journalists who have documented it. Some of them are even mothers, so they have outed those.
No, but I differ here. It is not just about spokespersons defending. There is also a silence from the party itself.
No, but I think everyone
just
let me finish. Now people have substantially spoken up. Umaji has made a comprehensive statement.
Sure, but she hasn't asked for resignation. What they have said is for the gentleman to explain himself, which is like stating the obvious.
Within their rights to do
it is for the gentleman.
It is important to note that Akbar has not a single defender except very low level media persons who went ballistic and made fool of themselves. Nobody who's been associated with BJP has defended. He actually has no defenders either in the media or in his so-called newly joined party.
But number two, there is a silence.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you one second, very quickly. Everybody knows only the Prime Minister can take a call on this. किसी की हिम्मत नहीं है to exceed their brief. Number 3, protocol. He is abroad. Now, he is abroad and representing the Indian government. You can't start abusing your minister while he's abroad. He has to be brought back.
But there is no abuse. The accounts are out there. Do you really want him to continue representing us abroad?
They should call him. They should recall him. I'm saying there is embarrassment.
Exactly.
And only because, and Prime Minister's office is one of the slowest moving offices ever known
I don't agree to this. I term it as ranting.
No, I mean it.
I term it as
it's an
ranting.
indictment on the PMO.
Okay, no,
I'm not giving him a compliment. I'm saying it is an indictment of the Prime Minister.
No, you have to understand when you make such a big statement saying recall.
Slowness.
You know what ramifications
Nobody
it
is
has on international politics.
asking for him to be recalled.
I
But the
just
fact
said
is,
that.
he continues to represent
Let's not
us.
get into politics.
It's not as if the world is not reading what is being said about Mr. Amjad.
I refuse to
The BBC has written about
silent
it.
about it.
Can I just
There
ask,
have
as
been
a public
conversations that
person,
we've been involved as a
1 minute,
party
please,
at whatever
just
levels
1
and
minute.
platforms. 1 minute.
Can we just
No,
come
just a
in?
second. Let me just finish what he said.
The party members and people have been involved at whatever levels, at their own levels. However, we have to understand the gravity. There is no politics in this matter. So the political outfit cannot comment on it. This is a sitting minister in the government. The government has to comment on it. And the government is going to come back. And in the interest of justice, in the interest of justice, you got to hear both the parties. You just can't, outrightly give a statement, hand over a verdict saying, okay, if somebody has complained, there's a verdict.
Sorry.
There's a victim. You guys have started calling everyone calling them victims. They cannot be called victims until and unless it is proven.
Moral responsibility
MJ
of elected
Akbar is
representatives.
not guilty until it's proven guilty.
Okay, moral
law says so.
responsibility of our elected
I
representatives.
will tell you this. I think this is a very, it's casting a bad shadow on the government. Because if you see the programs of the government, there are certain things, because Prime Minister is a Vivekananda follower. So certain things
5 programs of the government which focus only on women.
Yeah, so because what Swamiji, and these are Vivekananda's words, the uplift of women and the awakening of masses, you can see it in the PM's programs, Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao, Swachh Bharat, Ujjwala. All these programs have women at their core. Now this fellow who came from outside and he did all he did, his misdeeds, all his kukarm in his career as an editor, why should that black dark shadow come on the government, on the Prime Minister? So that they have to take a decision. They can't, but of course there are protocol issues. They can't just, just you're not firing a SHO.
But Padmaja, has your workplace changed? Has India today institutionalized some mechanism? What kind of changes have come about in, say, your own workplace? Because you are really playing a crusader's role.
Correct.
This particularly your house, media house. And it would be nice to see what those changes are, because I think if you lead the way, or some of you lead the way,
we have an internal complaints committee. There is going to be another reorientation for all the employees existing and those who are entering into our office about what our rules are and what the complaint mechanism is.
Do's and don'ts,
so our ICC already exists, and as I think there should be a full disclosure on the part of every organization if they don't have the ICC
My
yet.
experience of being on sexual harassment complaint committees of at least 3 public sector undertakings and 2 ministries has been that the moment somebody in power position is accused by somebody who's a very junior staff, then everybody gangs up against the woman. Even in Delhi University it happened when we took up such cases. Number 2, therefore, the outside evaluation of these complaints, I think, is very, very necessary.
I agree with you entirely.
Thirdly, one good suggestion, constructive suggestion I have is this. Since sexual harassment is so rampant, it might be a good idea to have within every major institution a secret ballot on men who don't harass. We must celebrate men who do not, who women see.
This is nobody's case that every man is a harasser. This is a fallacy.
Can I just come in here? Please, can I just come in here? Can we just come in?
I also want to get in Karuna and Vinta because they are outside of the studio and they're really getting very, very little in. Maybe the entire mechanism, Karuna, needs to be overhauled because there is something in the ICC, many are seeing now, which has failed, which is why women had to take to social media. We had a law, but we couldn't use it.
Absolutely. There's a lot of whitewashing and there's a lot of misconceptions, I think, that I've been listening in on. And for example, which I will not let pass. For example, the fact that there's a sort of illusion that the government has been undertaking a lot of programs in favor of women. The campaign to get elected on the women's platform was extremely active and extremely effective. The actual work and the actual data that has come up from the ground is abysmal. So let's be clear about that. Nihal Chand Meghwal, who was a culture minister and was accused of rape.
The moment we politicize it, we lose the very reason of the Me Too campaign. That's very unfortunate, and that's what Karuna is doing right now. Because then I'm going to bring in Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Gajanan Tripathi, and so on and so forth. We don't want to go that way, right? We don't want to go that way, do we? What happened to Abhishek Manu Singhvi? Congress did not even suspend him.
Of Me Too accusations.
Did not even suspend him, my God.
And the evidence was visual.
I'm not defending any political party here. I am coming to the point
and let me say this categorically, every political party has skeletons in their closet. So let's move beyond that and talk about the political party. I agree with you. Every political party has skeletons.
Forget about party.
We are saying that
every organization's leader has a skeleton in their
every political party has a skeleton. This should not be about politics.
Not
so can we please continue about whether the system needs an overhaul?
Yeah, absolutely.
Karuna.
Nonsense, with some respect, extensive nonsense that has been spoken and occupying the field.
That was not
now
nonsense, Karuna.
What is this way to talk?
You've been partisan.
This is very unfortunate.
Where the evidence.
I mean, it's got to be parliamentary language. What is this nonsense? What is this bullshit that you're talking about?
Can we please put a lid on this?
Let's have parliamentary decorum.
Can I please terminate this argument over here for a second? An overhaul of the system. Karuna, please continue on that thread.
Speak and then I'll finish and then you can speak. Now, so in terms of
her legal profession,
let me be clear of all parties, because no party seems to have proper ICCs, and even though ICCs are deficient, but they don't even have the ICCs.
BJP has a disciplinary committee. Do not make a generalized statement. BJP has a disciplinary committee which is led by a member of parliament.
Whether it's the Congress in the state government, whether it's
Congress has it,
Congress
has it, and everyone has it. Legal profession do not deviate from the topic.
Then there is no accountability. And when there is sexual harassment, then there is no accountability. So we need ICCs first. Secondly, we also get local complaints committees, which are under the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act, meant to be set up. And the governments need to set them up.
Okay, please, this is not about what about me.
This is what
not about what about me. What about media? What about academia?
There needs to be a place that people can complain. That is not
every organization. That's why I said the overhaul should be in the system.
They need to be equality committees. They need to not be anti-sexual harassment committees. They need to be respectful towards all kinds of gender
in the legal
the idea here is not to point a finger at any one profession. I asked about the overall system. I think this got very heated because then everyone's pointing fingers at each other.
You've been discussing about the role of the men, what role, and you know how they would be looked upon and things like that. You see, there too, we should not forget who we are as a people. I always feel that. So if we look at our historical experience, if you see the Western society, all the rights movement of women were very militant, because it was the women only who were protesting, demonstrating, taking on the batons, being chained, and all that, thrown into jails, all that happened. But in India, if you see, it is a unique example in the world. All the movements, rights movements for women, the ecosystem for the women's rights movement have been led by the men. Whether it is Ram Mohan Roy, whether it is Swami Vivekananda, whether it is Jyotiba Phule, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, who gave the Indian woman the right to property, converted the limited estate into an absolute estate. So India now needs to see its enlightened men in every sphere.
Can I please come in here?
Sure, but nobody said that all men are unenlightened.
Yeah, but
there are men and women who are together in this.
Feminism and patriarchy are ideologies, and therefore women can be patriarchal and men can be feminist.
I just feel that when you talk about the overall of the system, I think it's more on the execution and on implementing the law. The law itself is quite overarching and it's quite comprehensive. It's just that as Madhuji said, because of whatever reason, people getting away with things, it's a "theek hai, kuch hoga," then we'll think about the implementation.
Okay, I want to ask Vinta Nanda, you've had the beginning of at least now institutions being put in place, Vinta Nanda. Will the second step take place, that of sensitization? Do you see that happening?
No, certainly. In fact, they are already announcing workshops and conferences and seminars, and which is really a great thing to happen.
I'm unfortunately out of time, so I will have to end it over here. But all we are saying is that of the few points that we have raised, hopefully we will see them in action and we will see workplaces change, because it is not about a purge alone. It is about change that will make the next generation of women coming in safer at that workplace. Thank you very much, all ladies and Vibhav Agarwal, for having joined us, and to the viewers for tuning in.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.